All right, let's get right into it. We all use AI. We all live our lives in the cloud, right? But behind that smooth digital world, there's a massive physical one. And not too long ago, a huge geopolitical crisis basically forced a tectonic shift in where that physical world can safely exist. It pushed big tech to make this, just an unprecedented bet on a pretty controversial power source.
You're going to want to remember this date, March 1st, 2026. This is the day everything, and I mean everything, changed. For years, Silicon Valley had been pouring billions of dollars into the Persian Gulf, building out the guts, the infrastructure for the future of AI. But on this one day, the entire game board was just violently flipped upside down.
And this quote it nails the heart of the issue. The promise was so simple. Hey, bring your data, bring your chips, bring all your AI ambitions to us. In return, we'll give you stability, tons of land, and cheap energy. On paper, it looked like the perfect deal. Until, well, it wasn't.
So what exactly went down? How did this happen? Well, the Gulf's big dream of becoming the world's safe harbor for artificial intelligence was about to face a very, very brutal stress test.
It all unfolded incredibly fast. On March 1st, after facing strikes itself, Iran launches this wave of retaliatory drone and missile attacks. And within hours, Amazon Web Services, which is basically the digital backbone for that whole region, starts reporting these really weird outages. They vaguely mentioned their data centers were struck by objects. But by March 3rd, the truth was out, and it was undeniable. These were not accidents. These were direct hits from Iranian drones.
Now check this out. This is the official language from AWS itself. Look at those words. Directly struck. Physical impacts to our infrastructure. This is the exact moment a theoretical risk becomes a catastrophic physical reality. We're talking fires breaking out, sprinkler systems going off and causing massive water damage, power getting completely cut. You see, these weren't software glitches. These were kinetic attacks on the very heart of the digital economy.
And the fallout? Oh, it was immediate and it was widespread. Banking apps just went dark. Payment systems, delivery services, they all ground to a halt. The UAE stock market was actually forced to close down without any warning. And because these data centers served clients all across Africa and South Asia, the ripple effects just spread globally. But the most crucial thing to come out of this was a stark warning from Amazon to its customers. Get your data, get your workloads out of this region, and do it now.
So this all begs a really important question. Why were these supercritical data centers in such a volatile region to begin with? Well, the answer is pretty simple, and it's the engine driving this entire story. AI's absolutely unquenchable, relentless thirst for energy.
Just look at these numbers. It's insane. Global electricity demand from data centers is set to more than double between now and 2030, and nearly triple by 2035. This isn't just normal growth, it's a vertical explosion. To power the future of AI, these tech companies need access to just unimaginable amounts of electricity.
And here's the thing, it's not just any kind of power they need. AI requires something called baseload power. Okay, so think of it like the steady, constant heartbeat of the electrical grid. It has to be on 24/7, 365, without a single interruption. Solar and wind, they're fantastic, but they come and go. For the constant heavy-duty number crunching of AI, you need a power source that never, ever sleeps.
This quote from energy analyst Peter Kelly-Dittweiler just captures the frenzy perfectly. Big tech is locked in a global arms race, but it's not for talent or for chips, it's for raw power. And believe me, that realization had been dawning on them long before the first drone ever hit a data center in the Gulf.
So, where did they turn? This brings us to the big twist in our story today. The pivot to nuclear energy, it wasn't actually a reaction to the crisis. No, the crisis was simply the final, violent push that turbocharged a strategy that was already well underway. The evidence was already out there in plain sight. I'm talking about the biggest names in tech, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Meta. They were already inking these massive multi-decade deals for nuclear power. They had all come to the same conclusion. Nuclear was the only carbon-free source that can provide that 24/7 baseload power that AI desperately needs.
And the unlikely epicenter of this whole nuclear renaissance? Pennsylvania, of all places. So why Pennsylvania? Well, it had everything big tech needed. A huge existing fleet of nuclear reactors, a stable and mature regulatory environment, and it was right next to the major data center corridors on the East Coast. You've got Microsoft famously restarting a reactor at 3 Mile Island, Amazon literally bought a campus next to the Susquehanna nuclear plant, and Meta is buying up power from the Beaver Valley plant. The writing was on the wall.
So now we connect the dots, right?
On one hand, you have this pre-existing strategic pivot towards nuclear power in stable allied countries. And on the other hand, you have a sudden, violent demonstration of just how risky it is to operate anywhere else. Those attacks were the ultimate terrifying validation of the nuclear strategy.
For every tech executive, the strategic math just completely changed overnight. The Gulf's promise of stability was replaced by the cold, hard reality of war risk. Data centers, which were once just seen as big buildings, were now understood to be soft targets in a hot conflict. The entire value proposition had been completely inverted.
This quote here really hammers the point home. That line between civilian and military infrastructure, it just blurred and then vanished in an instant. If you're running the digital backbone of a country or a region, guess what? You are now part of the target set. That's a sobering realization that forced an immediate, top-to-bottom reevaluation of risk.
So the most important point is this. The drone strikes didn't start this trend, they put it on steroids. They turbocharged it. Any doubt, any hesitation about the massive cost and complexity of going nuclear, it all just vanished. The great data center exodus, away from high-risk regions and towards secure, allied countries with stable power, it began in earnest.
So what does the future of AI infrastructure even look like in this new world? What's the new model for building the engine of our digital future, knowing what we know now?
Well, the new playbook is crystal clear. Step 1. You secure massive, and I mean gigawatt-scale 24/7 power in politically stable, friendly countries. Step 2. You completely bypass the strained public grid. You do that by either building your data center right next to the nuclear plant or by signing a long-term contract that basically dedicates that plant's entire output just to you. And step 3, you create what are effectively private, self-sufficient energy islands, completely insulated from the chaos of the outside world.
And the scale of this commitment, it's just staggering. U.S. tech giants have already committed to at least 10 gigawatts of nuclear capacity. That is not a small investment, folks. That is a fundamental reshaping of both the tech industry and the energy sector, all driven by the demands of AI and the very hard lessons of geopolitical reality.
Which leaves us with one final, and I think pretty fascinating question. As these giant companies build their own private, nuclear-powered energy ecosystems to protect their AI infrastructure, are we actually watching the birth of a whole new kind of utility? An era not defined by public grids, but by private, corporate grids built for the singular purpose of powering artificial intelligence. It's a really powerful thought to end on.